Hey everybody, welcome back to my coverage of the PogChamps 3 tournament. This is the Rainn Wilson versus Tubbo match. Rainn Wilson is up 1-0, but can Tubbo, the underdog, bring it back and bring this match to a tiebreaker Armageddon game? Let's find out. This is game 2. If you missed game 1, check it out in the info card up there, and let's get right into the chess. We have Rainn with the white pieces. He starts out with e4. We have e5 from Tubbo, and we've seen Rainn play classically with white and Tubbo play classically with black. So let's see if we get a classical game. We have knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5, the Ruy Lopez. What can get more classical than the Ruy Lopez, you may be asking? Well, let me tell you, the classical variation of the Ruy Lopez. So much more common in modern play is a6 from this move, from black on this move, which is the Morphy defense, or knight f6, which is the Berlin defense. But bishop c5, also a playable move, is the classical defense. And Rainn continues with castles. We have knight f6 from Tubbo and rook e1 from Rainn. And this rook e1 move, it has been played many times before, but in my opinion, it's not as strong as this other move that white can play, which is knight takes e5. And this kind of goes into a sort of a forcing line. It's very theoretical, but it starts off with this center fork trick, where after knight takes e5, we have d4. This is a fork, but black ignores this because he's going to lose one of the pieces anyway, so he counterattacks white with a6. We have bishop e2, and now knight takes e4. Once again, black doesn't bother saving one of his pieces because he's going to lose one of them anyway, so he grabs a pawn instead. D cross c5, knight cross c5, and now b4. We have knight e6, f4, knight c6, and now f5. And now a very spicy move from black, queen f6, sacrificing this knight, but going after this rook in the corner. So after f takes e6, queen takes a1, e cross f7 check, and king f8. This is just one of the many theoretical lines in this Ruy Lopez classical variation, which is considered, it's playable, but it's like subpar to the Morphy defense and the Berlin defense. So, I mean, you will see it played, especially if you play the Ruy Lopez as white, but not as often as some of those other defenses, which I've mentioned. But yeah, this is just one of the lines that we could have seen if, Rainn Wilson and Tubbo were experts on the Ruy Lopez. But instead, we have rook e1, which is also a playable move. It has been played in this position many times before. However, this move isn't actually the most accurate because of a move that black can play, which Tubbo actually found. Tubbo, congrats, my dude, which is knight g4, pressuring this f2 square now that the rook has moved away. And here the best move for white is actually to move the rook back to f1, which is what Rainn does. Like, this is some really high quality chess. This is basically a grandmaster game. So congrats to both players so far for playing so well. We have castles and h3, still the best moves from both players. But here Tubbo makes sort of a he makes a completely fine move. He plays knight f6. However, I would like to look at this bishop takes f2 move, and usually you do not want to sacrifice two pieces for a rook and a pawn. That's like the general principle, but here it actually works out in some weird way. After rook takes f2, knight takes f2, king takes f2, because now in this position black has f5, and since black is already castled, the rook's on the f-file, the f-file is going to open up, and black could get some attack. So we could have a sequence like d3, f takes e4, d takes e4, and knight d4, and black could get some initiative here. So this is actually playable for black. And yeah, this is playable for black. This is one option for black. But Tubbo played knight f6, which is totally playable too. Very excellent. And yeah, so now that there's no more pressure on this f2 square, we have rook back to e1 by Rainn, so a little bit of shuffling. And now we have this a6 move by Tubbo. We have bishop cross c6, and here is the first kind of real mistake of the game. Tubbo plays b cross c6, and here this actually allows white to capture this pawn on e5, because this bishop removed the defense of the knight from this pawn on e5. So here Rainn actually had the chance to capture this pawn on e5 basically for free. And this would have been very good for white. So this is why Tubbo needed to capture with the d pawn. And now this actually totally prevents white from capturing this pawn because of this bishop takes f2 check tactic. And now after king takes f2, we have queen d4 check. It's a fork on the king and the rook. So king f1 and queen, oops, not queen takes e4, but queen takes e5. And yeah, this is going to be a very nice position for black to play. So yeah, b takes c6, a little bit of an inaccuracy, but I can see where Tubbo was thinking. I think he was thinking, you know, somebody probably told him to capture towards the center, and so he didn't want to capture away from the center. Though when you have this choice of capturing with the b pawn or the d pawn, you have to consider the advantages of both of them. Usually the advantage of capturing with the b pawn is that you have better control of the center, but the advantage of capturing with the d pawn is you maintain one pawn island instead of two pawn islands like you would if you capture with the b pawn. Also, you allow faster development for your bishop and in some cases your queen as well. So those are some of the things you should be considering if you find yourself in sort of this situation where the bishop captures the knight on one of these 4 squares here. But anyway, Tubbo captures with b cross c6, and will Rainn go for this knight takes e5? He does not. I don't know if he didn't see it or if he was worried about you know, rook e8 possibilities, but he just goes for knight c3, which is a fine move as well. We have d5 from Tubbo, and so yeah, he did not defend his pawn on e5, but he's now counterattacking black's pawn on e4. So what will white do here? Who knows? White plays knight takes e5. So now taking this pawn, it would have been better if Rainn took it last move, but taking it now is also probably one of the best moves in this position, so it's perfectly fine. And how will Tubbo respond to this? We have d4 from Tubbo, so just striking at white's knight, and there's an ambulance outside, but we'll just continue with the chess. We have knight a4 and bishop a7. This was a bit of a mistake from Tubbo. Tubbo should have played bishop d6 here. And the reason is this actually sets a trap for Rainn. So now if Rainn goes ahead and takes the c-pawn, this actually allows for a kind of a weird looking skewer on the knights with queen d7. It's actually a forced skewer almost because the queen is attacked and the only 2 squares, both of them skewer the knights. So yeah, there's no way to defend both knights here. Rainn would actually lose a piece. So he would have to be aware of this. This trick doesn't really work if the bishop moves to any other square, because if the bishop moves to e7, then when the knight takes, it can trade itself for the bishop. Or if this bishop moved to b6, like this knight could trade it off. Or what happened in the game, the bishop moved to a7. Now knight takes c6 is definitely a possibility, and Rainn goes for it with knight takes c6. We have queen e8, so kind of going for the skewer now, but Rainn can get out of it with knight takes a7, which he does. We have rook takes a7 and b3 from Rainn, just defending his knight. And now Tubbo makes kind of a weird move. So Rainn is now up a pawn. And here Tubbo definitely blunders again with the move knight takes e4. And yeah, this is not a good move. It looks like you can win a pawn here because you've got 2 attackers. But when you take this piece, when you take this pawn with your knight, you're stepping into a pin from this rook. And your knight here can now be attacked by a pawn, and you won't be able to move it. So Rainn sees this. D3 probably would have been a little bit better than the move Rainn played, which was f3. But f3 is still totally fine because it still wins the knight. So Tubbo realizes he can't move this knight and plays queen c6. We have f takes e4, and now Rainn is up a piece and a pawn. We have rook e8 from Tubbo and d3 from Rainn, just consolidating his center. We have queen g6 now looking to kind of get some counterplay against white's king. And Tubbo actually does, I think, a pretty good job at this, at doing this. So here he's actually threatening bishop takes h3. Will Rainn see it? Yes, he does. He plays queen f3, so now guarding against this h3 threat. We have rook e5, so Now doing this rook lift from Tubbo, really, really great stuff from Tubbo actually. Like he's doing a really great job at making counterplay when he's down a piece and a pawn. So good job to him for that. Rainn plays bishop b2. Probably, I mean, it is a playable move. Maybe a little slow, but you know, you can't really go wrong with just completing development. So bishop b2 is totally fine as well. Maybe bishop f4 was a little better, but you know, bishop b2 also totally fine. We have rook h5 and g4 from Rainn, just attacking this rook. Though you are advancing the pawns in front of your king, this king is not safe at all, and he could get into some trouble later. Also, this pawn is not even attacking this rook because it is pinned to the king. So we have rook h4 from Tubbo, and now bishop takes d4 from Rainn, just picking up this free pawn and also attacking this rook here. But does Tubbo move the rook? No, he does not. He plays h4, or sorry, h5, chess dyslexia. He plays h5. I don't know if this was a blunder or if he is just going all in with his attack here, but I admire his bravery here. This was, yeah, maybe just giving up this rook and trying to go all in with this attack is the right call. Who knows? So I don't know if Rainn didn't see that this rook was hanging, or if he was just scared of something like, you know, bishop takes a7. Sorry, bishop takes a7 and h takes g4. H takes g4. Rook takes g4. Something like this. He may have been scared of this, but we do not have bishop takes a7. So instead we have king f2. So just getting off the g file and looking to find some safety. Tubbo does rip open Rainn's kingside with h takes g4. We have h takes g4 and now bishop takes g4. Tubbo getting his last piece into the mix and gaining a tempo on White's queen. It's starting to look, I mean, White is still totally winning here, but White could also go wrong very easily. So White's got to be careful. Rainn's got to be careful here. We have queen g3 and rook h3 getting another tempo on the queen. Queen g2 and now rook f3 check. King g1 and c5. This actually could be a brilliant move by Tubbo. It sort of does just lose a pawn after bishop takes c5. However, it does introduce the possibility of a brilliant swindle after rook c7, and now White is still totally winning here after a move like rook e3. However, if White decides to move the bishop, for example, bishop a3, now Black is totally winning actually after rook takes c2. And this is just a brilliant swindle by Black, because now Black is totally winning. You cannot take this rook if we have queen takes c2, for example. So the queen will be lost here because you can't move the queen off this file. If we have a move like queen takes c2, now we have bishop h5 check, and now, you know, if king h1, then this will be checkmate in 2 after this. The only other move is to give up the queen. So if queen g2, then simply rook g3, and you're going to win the queen. So the last move is rook h2, and now we have queen g3 check, king h1, and now rook f4, just going for this rook h4 mating idea. And the only way to stop this is with a move like queen to g2, and this simply loses the queen after bishop f3. So this would have been a brilliant swindle from Tubbo if he saw this, you know, rook c7 and rook takes c2 sacrifice idea. Obviously, once again, White did not have to move this bishop. White is still totally winning here after rook c7 and a move like rook e3. But moving the bishop, if that happened, that just would have been probably the move of the entire PogChamps tournament if this had happened on board. So it's just something I explored and wanted to share with you guys. But anyway, back to the game. In the game, we have bishop h3, and this just totally loses for Black. So when you're already down this much material and you're attacking, you really just can't trade queens, and this just gives the opportunity for Rainn to trade queens. not only are you trading queens after queen takes g6 and f takes g6, you're also now losing a rook because you had your rook hanging this whole time after bishop takes a7, and so now Rainn is up, what is it, 2 pawns, a rook, and a knight. So this is totally winning for white. We'll see how Rainn converts this. We have g5 and rook f1. I don't know if Rainn saw if this was hanging or if he was just trying to get pieces off the board. But Tubbo did not take it anyway. He just played rook g3 check. And we have king h2. And now Tubbo decided to take this rook. So we have bishop takes f1 and king takes g3. Now Tubbo only has a bishop left. We have bishop e2 and rook e1 attacking the bishop. We have bishop h5, rook e3, king f7, and bishop takes g5, just mopping up the last of black's pawns and pieces. We have king g6, king f4, a5, and c4, bishop e2, and it looks like Tubbo is going for some sort of stalemate. He wants to sacrifice all of his pieces. So I think this is the idea behind bishop e2, because I can't imagine that he didn't see that this square was defended by the rook. So I think he was going for stalemate here. We have rook takes e2, king h5, c5, and king g6. So now Rainn is just going to promote this c-pawn. c6, king f7, c7, king e8, and c8 equals queen. This is also check. We have king f7, king f5, g6 check. So black just plays g6 check. We have king e5, king g7, and rook f2, king h7, black's only move, and this leads to a mate in one after rook f7, which is checkmate. So Rainn takes the match. Rainn takes the match. He was the favorite to win this match, and Tubbo, I think this means Tubbo is going to the consolation bracket. But here are the full Group C standings. So these are the standings. The top 2 players will advance to the championship bracket, and the bottom 2 players will go to the consolation bracket. There is still 1 round left in the group stage, so I will be covering those matches when they happen. For now, congrats to Rainn. Try again next time, Tubbo. They both played excellent chess. This game was very excellent. They both played very excellently in this game and in this match. So I don't think I have anything else to say about this game. So check out my PogChamps 3 playlist. It's up there. Check out another one of my videos over there on the left side of the screen. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.